Yeah.
Yes, depends on when we take responsibility for what's going on in our lives, right? It's kind of a hard thing to teach children today.
Yeah.
Yes? We can model it as adults.
By being accountable.
Yes.
And honest.
And honest. Boy, that takes courage, doesn't it? Telling the truth of our lives to benefit the people that we love and care about.
Wow, that's
It's one of the
very well
lessons
put.
that I had to learn.
And also to listen. What astounds me is during this whole time, you're listening to the students and you're taking notes. You're not lecturing them.
Because they had what I wanted. These were the kids that were giving me the real deal for the reality of their lives to give me insight on what it was like for my children to have me as a mom. Yeah.
So you had to go outside of your own family unit to get idea about your own family unit.
Oh yeah, because you know, single mom working all the time, I had all the answers. It's like I pay the bills, I make the rules. Well, where did that leave my kids?
Alone.
Yeah, exactly. And prior to that, one of the things that my kids had to deal with as other children in families that are breaking up, kids want to know, what do you do with parents who are yelling and screaming and fighting and don't get along? And you know, when one of your family members, your mom or dad, is getting hurt, like, who do you help? You know, do you help the parent that's getting pounded on? Do you help your brother and sister, or do you just hide under the bed? It's like, what do you do in that situation?
Is that like that metaphor of the white elephant in the middle of the living room that everyone has to walk around but no one wants to talk about? Is that what that-
Definitely, these are things that nobody wants to talk about. And that's
family.
why kids were saying, these are the things that we want to be learning about, the things that apply, that we can use when we go home, on the playground, and after school. Kids said, sometimes grown-ups forget that we have feelings too, even mad feelings, because people are always bossing us around, telling us what to do from the time we wake up in the morning till the time that we go to bed. So when you're a kid, what are you supposed to do when you have mad feelings? It's not like you can just yell and scream at your mom and dad and think you're not going to get slapped around, or... Yeah, kids need to know how to handle stress.
It seems like that ties into the whole be seen and not heard syndrome, right?
Yeah, again, that might have been true in my home.
It was definitely true in my home.
Yeah, this is something that a lot of kids said they needed help with, not just for their mom, but for their teachers. Kids said, you know, I love my mom, but she is always like, she's in a bad mood, and she's just a grouch. And kids want to know, how do you get along with grumpy people? Yeah, how do you, like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
You make everything nice around them. You become a peacemaker. Isn't that something they learn?
Yeah, I think that's called codependency.
Oh, yeah. It's a whole other program.
Yeah, other kids said, my mom is okay. I love my mom. She's all right, but my dad is hard to please. No matter what I do, it's never good enough. So how do you get along with somebody where no matter what it is that you're doing, it never meets their expectations, and so you're always disappointing them?
Such a heavy feeling.
Yeah.
It really is.
There are some kids who have a lot of responsibilities. You know, kids that are acing school and are on the soccer team and trying to be a good example to a lot of different people. Those kids would say, how do I please so many grown-ups and still take care of me at the same time? Because they don't want to disappoint anybody.
Yeah, the cape in their back pocket. I'm super kid.
Super kid, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that kids wanted to know also.
That makes me really sad.
Yeah.
How do I please others and still take care of me?
Can you imagine asking yourself that question when you're 11 years old?
No. Yes.
I mean, that's something we ask ourselves as adults. We had some kids that had the experience of having older brothers and sisters who had children while they were young. And some kids said, you know, my sister's the one that has the kid, but she goes out and goes to school and has a job. And when I come home from school, it's my job to take care of the baby. So I'm a kid taking care of a kid. And how does that work? You know, what am I supposed to do with that? But, you know, my mom says, well, that's my job, so.
Wow.
Lots of the kids in my class, as we talked in those few days.
3 days?
Yeah, it was 3 days that we did this. they said, we do want to be better kids. We do want to do things to make our teachers and our mom and dad happy, but there's so much that's going on in our lives, and some of us are so busy that we don't have time to change. We don't even have time to think about changing. We just have to get up, go to school, after school, do our homework, go to practice, do our chores, or
Sounds, yeah.
yes,
Sounds
hang out
familiar.
with our buddies, or whatever it is that are our children's experiences for today. I mean, kids have a range of experiences in today's time. Some people are very, very overstructured in the lives of, in the commitments that their children have to keep, and and other kids, they go to school and that's it. The only adults that they see and the only interaction that they have that's helpful or wholesome or safe is in the school system.
Wow, that's a powerful story. Now, from that experience of those 3 days, how did that go from being that to this?
Thank you for asking that. At the end of those 3 days, I thanked the kids for talking with me, for opening up their hearts, and for saying what was true about their lives. And I said, you've done an amazing thing. You've helped me to remember what it was like for me to be a kid, and you've helped me to understand mistakes that I've made as a parent, and things that I have made, that I've done wrong in the classroom that I need to change. And I said, what do you want to do with this experience? And they said, well, let's make a book so we can share the information with our friends
The
and
kids
family.
said that.
Yeah. And I said, well, that's a great idea. I said, I took notes and I wrote down all the main ideas for the things that I heard you say. And another kid said, well, okay, Miss Gaddis, but everybody knows that you have lousy handwriting. Nobody can read your handwriting.
Guilty.
Yeah. One of the kids said, well, I've been practicing reading her handwriting, so I wrote down everything that she put on the board. And another kid said, well, give it to me because I can read your handwriting. I'll take it home and I'll type it up. And another kid said, well, if you type it up, then bring it to school and meet me in front of the computer room, and we'll get it in the computer. So we started with about 6 kids talking about how to get this information
Could have been your kids.
in some form that could be shared with others. And in 6 weeks, we went from 6 kids to 60 kids who were coming before school, after school, lunch, recess.
Wow.
And they were writing and talking and editing. And it was so exciting to see these kids involved in something that meant something to them. So we had kids that even come to school. We had special ed kids that didn't bother with coming to class. We had honor roll kids. We had kids who can read and write, and kids who struggled with reading and writing, but they had a point of view and they had a voice that needed to be heard. So these 60 kids were working every free minute that they had. And the principal came to see me in the middle of this, and she says, Michelle, I think that we may have a problem, but before I decide if it's a problem, she said, I need to hear your explanation of what exactly is going on in your
what's
classroom.
going on?
What's
Like,
happening, right?
All these kids are missing from recess and
Before school
bus
and
stop.
after school.
Right.
And so I told her, I said, I had this personal challenge, and I came to school and I asked the kids for advice, and I said their honesty was so powerful. And